we found broad support across the country, across the political divide, in favor of the idea of a youth climate corps. So just to take a step back and explain the idea here. The idea of a youth climate corps would be to say to everyone under the age of 35, if you get the emergency, you want to enroll for 2 years in an audacious youth training and employment program that can see us confronting extreme weather events, making communities and the environment more resilient to the coming climate events. Most importantly, engaging in the work that will drive down emissions like renewable energy and building retrofits. If you want to spend 2 years doing that kind of work, we have a place for you. So we put this out in the poll and we asked people, what do you think? So first of all, a majority of Canadians really like the idea, broad political support. But the most interesting question to me in the poll was one that we only asked people under 35. We said, if a program like this existed today, how likely would you be to consider enrolling yourself? And they could say definitely or probably or maybe or variations of not interested. 65% of young people said they would consider joining. I thought maybe 5% would say definitely. 15% said definitely. Now, there's about 9 million Canadians between 18 and 35, Ryan. So 15% is about 1.3 million Canadians saying, I get it. Sign me up. I'm ready to serve.
There's a big audience that's going to hear this show in Western Canada in particular. Alberta, the interest lags a little bit in this youth climate corps, but not grossly. And I'd love for you to analyze that. Nobody knows these numbers better than you and David Coletto.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, well, so actually on that question I was just referring to, how likely would you yourself be to consider enlisting? Actually, support was highest on the prairies and in Atlantic Canada. So those parts of the country that are most reliant on fossil fuels. I'm just looking at the results here. So specifically in your province, in Alberta, 47% of Albertans between the ages of 18 and 35, 47% said they either definitely or probably would consider enrolling in a youth climate corps if it existed, and an additional 20% said they would consider it. Very strong results in Saskatchewan and Manitoba as well, and as I say, in Atlantic Canada. So I think for a lot of these young people, including in parts of the country that are currently more reliant on the fossil fuel industry, they see the writing on the wall. And they are saying, I would welcome the chance to get trained up in a career that I could spend the next 20 years having more stable living, making a more stable living, but also serving my country and my community, meeting this emergency moment.
But the males display a greater degree of interest than the females. 41%, 18 to 35 strongly support it, 26% of women. What do you read into that? Anything?
I actually wasn't surprised by that. But you are catching on to an interesting element of the poll. Mostly when we poll on climate, women are more supportive of bold climate action than men. There's something about the call for a youth climate corps that I think speaks to this hunger among a lot of younger men, that they're looking for a different kind of call, a different kind of invitation. They feel more acutely that sense of abandonment from the current status quo. And that idea, it's similar to the appeal from the military that can be attractive to some young men who just want to roll up their sleeves and get the work done.